Good morning and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, where we know and claim that such is the nature of life, that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. You are that opportunity, so am I, and so it is. It is a rich and wonderful thing to be in the awareness that life and God are one and the same. That life that surges through each of us and animates us and keeps us going and living is the very essence of God itself. So, because of that, we know who you are and we welcome you. We welcome you because we know that you are an expression of this life. You're an expression of the divine. All it wants is the opportunity to appear. You're that opportunity. So we honor you, we celebrate you, we believe in you. Whatever your understanding of yourself, whatever your pronouns, whatever your ethnicities or affiliations in the world, whatever your political party, we welcome you and know that who you are and what you are is moving through in a rich and wonderful way. We're glad you're with us. Welcome to our community. So as we step into this time together, we do so with a recognition of our declaration of principles. These are the principles that guide who we are and what we are all about. Listen up now. I believe
I believe
in one God,
one absolute power and first cause to all things.
I believe that this power is perfect love
and creates out of a desire to express love.
I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience.
I believe in the unity of all life
and the immortality of the individual soul,
forever unfolding.
I believe
in the eternal goodness,
the eternal goodness of God,
the eternal loving kindness,
and the eternal givingness of God to all.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is. So you now heard something about what we believe in our Declaration of Principles. This is based on New Thought, Science and Mind, originally written by Dr. Ernest Holmes. So we are very grateful to be able to continue that tradition and to keep those great truths alive because they still fire up and embody and bring great good to each of us and to all of us. Next, we're going to hear from, our practitioner of the day, who is going to bring us a spiritual mind treatment or a prayer, as we call it. The practitioner is someone who's licensed by Centers for Spiritual Living because they had demonstrated the ability to really use this teaching for themselves and to use it for others and helping others to walk through and create a better life for themselves, a life more to their liking. And today, that practitioner will be Norma Roberts. However, before that, let me tell you about our speaker. Our speaker is Rev Cynthia Paulsen. She is also a member of our center and is an interfaith minister. She has great training and great credential in that. So I'm excited that she's going to be sharing with us her talk today, and which is entitled the same as our theme for the month, Words That Heal. So after we hear from what we affectionately call Reverend Norma, even though she hasn't got that title except where we give it to her out of recognition of her great power and spirituality, we'll hear from Reverend Cynthia. Take it away, Norma.
Good morning, all, and thank you so very much, Reverend Bob. I really appreciate that, Reverend, but we'll make it sometime soon. But today I want to talk about one of our personal powers. And that's the power of our spoken word. Florence Shovels Shen maintains a large audience when speaking on the spoken word. She has a book by that same title. And in that book, we are informed you have only one judge. That judge is your word. Jesus Christ said, I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by the word thou shalt be justified, and by the word thou shalt be condemned. But we know every day is a day of judgment. Every day. Invisible forces are ever working for man who's willing to pull his own strings, although he doesn't know it. Thought, the strongest power in the universe, is without sound and used as your goodwill, as it can sweep away obstacles from your pathway and create your heart's desire as it is released to you. What is really yours? The answer is all that the kingdom afford is yours. Everything. Every righteous desire of the heart is promised you. But these gifts can come to us only if we can believe that they are possible, for everything comes through you, not to you. Feel rich and you attract riches. Feel successful, you'll become successful. What is really yours? The blessings you bring to yourself through your spoken word, whether silent or aloud. The things you can see with your inner eye through your spoken word. Your heart's desire is simply awaiting your full attention to a new idea. And this day is a wonderful day to begin using your spoken word. Choose your new idea today and then embark upon your amazing adventure of spiritual growth. I'd like to do a treatment with you. And what I'd like for you to do is just accept whatever you can for yourself. I will be speaking in the first person, and I'll be speaking as every individual within the sound of my voice. Again, accept whatever you can. It is for you. And release anything that you cannot claim. Let's just take a moment and take a deep breath. And relax into the knowing that there is one infinite mind everywhere equally present, everywhere knowing only its own perfection, knowing the divine pattern of good for itself as each of its individualizations. Therefore, I know that right here, right now, everyone within the sound of my voice reveals their own divine pattern of good as who they think they are. They cannot lose it, they cannot destroy it, they cannot limit it, and through this treatment, they accept it. They know that infinite intelligence desires to do something great by means of them and will do it gloriously and magnificently as they get the little me out of the way. Right here and right now, I declare that God is the isness in my word and the isness of each and every one. I know that spirit needs no healing of any kind under any circumstance or condition. I therefore consciously direct the law of mind to reveal the truth of spirit as the wholeness and perfection of everyone. I direct that law to reveal the divine pattern of personal relationships, of self-expression, and of financial abundance of each and every one on time and in order. I consciously direct the law to impel and compel each one to follow their own pattern of good, their own direction of spirit. I direct the law of mind to neutralize, negate, and permanently inactivate all the negatives of human beliefs and all the negative that may appear to be. I know that the reasoning mind of each one reveals that right where any negative appear is the good, the true, and the beautiful. I now announce that this word is the law unto which it is spoken. There is nothing anywhere that can deny it or obstruct its operation. Because we walk by faith and not by sight, I am assured of my good, and it does come forth and is made visible and tangible as the experience of each and every one. For this I give great thanks, for I know it is the law unto which it is spoken, and it is so now. And so it is.
Good morning, CSL Midtown. It is always a pleasure to be here with you. And I'm about to give a talk unlike any other talk I've ever given. So buckle up, here we go. I have always wanted to give a sermon with book recommendations, talking about powerfully inspirational books that I have read on my spiritual journey. And now, this idea of discussing great new thought books fits perfectly with our theme for this month, which is words that heal. Now, when Dr. Bob first let me know that this was going to be the theme for September, that's immediately where my mind went and what I thought of. Not necessarily the power of our own words to heal us, which we know is definitely true, which Reverend Norma did a great job discussing this morning, but the power of other people's words, inspirational authors, books that I've read that have changed and healed my life. I know with certainty that I would not be who I am today if it weren't for the many spiritual books that I have read. And while preparing for this talk this week, I came across a quote by Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Apparently, she once said, "Reading shaped my dreams, and more reading helped me make my dreams come true." And I read that and I thought, she just described my life. I don't think I would be a minister, a speaker, or an author myself if it weren't for me treating books and reading as an important part of my spiritual practice. So to be clear, reading is absolutely a spiritual practice. Reading inspirational books is a huge part of, developing spiritual awareness and shifting our consciousness and helping us to understand abstract spiritual principles. Most religious institutions and churches are based on a book, whether it's, an ancient wisdom text or something that's been written in the last 100 years. Words have the power to convey a message and change people's lives. I can actually look back at certain times over the course of my life and see, I read that particular book and that led me to another book. And before I knew it, I was able to connect the dots and see the healing impact that certain books had on my spiritual life. Now, I did have to work very hard to whittle this list down to just a few. You can see the bookshelf behind me, and it is real. And those are only some of my books. There is a pile next to me here that I'm going to be showing you. And when I say that these books are books that heal, these ones that I'm about to talk about, I don't necessarily mean that they fixed a problem for me, but I do mean that they healed in the sense that they improved my understanding of spiritual principle. They moved the trajectory of my life to a better place, to a higher consciousness. They helped shift my thinking. They opened my eyes to new ideas. They gave me, tangible tools to improve my life experience. These are books that brought me in alignment with my life purpose and my spiritual truth. So who wouldn't want that, right? So let's start at the beginning. In the beginning was the Word. We know that. The first book that I believe healed my life is the Bible. Now, I fully intend to show you all these books as I talk about them. And I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but the truth is I donated my physical body to Goodwill before we moved. And that sounds really bad. But I did it because I hadn't used it in years, because I use a Bible app. BibleGateway.com has this cool app on my phone, and it's been wonderful. So that's the only book that I don't have like in physical form that I use a lot still. But here's what the Bible did for me. In my late 20s and early 30s, I was a member of a liberal, progressive Christian church with the United Church of Christ. And I was what you would call a seat filler. And those seat fillers are important. I showed up and I sat in the pews and I listened to sermons on Sundays. But what happened was, because I had teaching experience, I was a licensed K-8 teacher. They asked me if I would consider applying for their Christian education position that they had available, which meant if I applied and got that job, I was going to have to read the Bible regularly in order to present children's sermons during the service. Of course, I applied, I got the job, and so I had to read scripture, study it, read commentaries, and then my job was to make it understandable for children. And what that did was it shifted my approach from viewing this ancient wisdom text as something that was boring and hard to understand to seeing the Bible as something that could be simplified, that had a message of positivity and goodness that would inspire children. So I found and focused on scripture messages of love and peace and the goodness of God being available to them. So I might have been teaching children and inadvertently teaching the adults in the congregation as well, but I was also learning all that for myself. So that started my shift in thinking and started the healing of my thinking. Now, about this time in my life, I was struggling personally through a difficult marriage and ultimately a painful divorce, and I was not coping well at all. That was the year the documentary called The Secret came out. And soon after, the book, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne came out. This is what it looks like. And I have not removed all my sticky notes from any of these. I use these books in talks all the time. So this book taught me that the power of the universe was within me. I learned things like how important it is to feel good in the present moment, how to use gratitude and visualization. This was the first time that I had read about the law of attraction and understood that my thoughts can attract good things into my life, that my words can influence my experience. The Secret has very new thought, science of mind type ideas in it. Now, during this time that I had read The Secret, I had been complaining to everyone I knew about my life problems. That book taught me how crucial it was to stop doing that. Honestly, if I had to point to one book that not only healed my life, but completely changed the trajectory of my life, it would be The Secret. It's written in simple language and makes it easy to understand. And it's not even that it's such a good book, which it is a good book. It's that for me, it made me hungry for more. And that is a big deal for our spiritual journey. We need to be inspired and led to the next thing that helps us grow spiritually. And that's what happened to me. So the next book I want to touch on and recommend, Dr. Bob already mentioned earlier this month, so I won't spend too much time on it, but it is You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And what this book did was it helped me notice and heal false thinking from my childhood that I didn't even know I was thinking and that I did not realize was false. It does a great job explaining how false thoughts impact our consciousness and it teaches the value of, positive affirmations and includes so many examples of beautiful affirmative prayers. That was the first time I had seen that kind of language used in prayer. Reading Louise Hay books is how I discovered what Centers for Spiritual Living even is. She was a practitioner and a minister back when CSL was still called religious science. So I was reading contemporary New Thought authors before I even knew what New Thought was. Which leads me to the next big book that I think healed my life. And it is literally a big book, The Science of Mind, our textbook that our church and our center is founded on. Now, it's so big, I think you could kind of knock somebody out with this. Reading this book is not a small task, I will admit. I bought this copy for my very first CSL class, which is Foundations of Science of Mind. Now, aside from the reading for the class, I could never seem to get myself to just sit down and read it from cover to cover, start to finish, like you would a normal book. And the reason was because I was not quite used to the language yet that Ernest Holmes writes with. I want to acknowledge that because there could be someone out there watching who thinks, yeah, that book is too much for me. It's possible because it's a little textbooky when you dive into it for the first time. So I want to share with you the best advice I ever got from a practitioner friend, which was to do the guide for the reading for the Science of Mind. You can read the textbook in a year, and there's a guide, and it's in the beginning of the book, just past the table of contents. And if you follow this guide, it bounces you all over the book, reading just a section or two at a time every day, a page or two. So you're not reading it in order, but it ends up that it's so much easier to understand and to get through. One day you're reading from the introduction, then the next day you're reading a couple inspirational meditations, then you might be reading about treatments for a specific ailment, and then you're reading, a metaphysical explanation of Jesus's ministry. So you're all over the place. And that is when the Science of Mind came alive for me. When I could piecemeal it like that and read just a little bit, think about it, meditate on it, and then move on to the next one the next day. Then when I finished the book after a year, I couldn't wait to turn around and read it again from the beginning all the way through. And I did. And it was a healing experience for me to finally begin grasping these spiritual principles. Now, as a piggyback on the Science of Mind text, there are some great New Thought daily readers out there. Like this one is, got a bit of a glare there. Sorry. It's 365 Science of Mind. So 365 days of Science of Mind. And then the other one that I would recommend is 365 days of richer living. This one's written by Ernest Holmes. This one's Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker. Both very good books. And so the reason I recommend a daily reader of New Thought writings is that they are designed to just give you a page a day, a few paragraphs for your reading spiritual practice. It's a daily choice that we can make to focus on an uplifting word, an inspirational message, just a snippet of spiritual principle. And those kinds of books help you not only, heal, not only because of the content in them, but they help you develop a consistent habit with your spiritual practice, because it's easy to find just a few minutes to read just a couple pages. Now, another book that really helped me heal my life was Discover the Power Within You by Eric Butterworth. Eric Butterworth was a famous unity minister, a prolific author, and this book of his was originally published in 1968. And it has so many New Thought nuggets of wisdom in it. The biggest takeaway being that the power of the divine is within all of us. You're going to know and understand that by the end of reading that book. The Discover the Power Within You impacted my personal journey so much because he brings the potential of Jesus to life as a possibility for me and my life. And that's what would happen for you. You would realize that for you in your life. That book made me nostalgic for my days giving children's sermons and doing all that Bible reading. There are a lot of scripture references in it, but they're given with a great new thought metaphysical spin. That book really shows you that the answer to life is within you. You come away filled with possibility and spiritual confidence. Now, the last book I'm going to talk about sounds like a shameless plug because it's my book that was published last month on Amazon, but stick with me here. It's called Undoing the Knots, Reclaiming Our Good. And this book, I really think, fits the same category as those other books in that I truly believe it has the potential to heal. This book was written with the intention that it can heal the knots in your life. Knots are just the problems we all deal with from time to time. Things like lack, loneliness, fear, conflict, illness. You all know what human problems are, right? But the purpose of my book is to provide tangible resources, ideas, suggestions, spiritual practices that can help change your thinking to be in alignment with spirit and to help you think in a potentially new way about your life. It's just a collection of short stories, essays, meditations that are designed to help you heal your human challenges so that you can experience more good. It explains all kinds of spiritual practices, things like, how affirmations work, what affirmative prayer is, how simple gratitude can be, how to observe your thoughts and beliefs and why that's so important, why forgiveness is crucial to living in harmony and health, how powerful we are because of our inherent unity with the divine, and obviously a lot more. I could talk all day about this, but I won't. Bottom line is, I believe that everything we could possibly want or need is within us. There is no limit to the good that we can experience because there is no limit to God. I also believe there is no limit to the ways we can heal, the ways that spirit can reach us with a greater understanding. So pick a good spiritual book, even if it's not one of these. There are words out there that can heal. These were just a tiny sampling. There are so many. And before I go, I want to give a shout out to the CSL Midtown discussion group because this is what they do. They recognize the healing power of words and they choose a spiritually inspiring book. Right now, they are reading the Living the Science of Mind book, which is behind me. And what they do is they get together every Sunday at 10 a.m. before our service on the Zoom link for the CSL Midtown Zoom link. So even if you haven't done the reading for the week, you can come and it's a wonderful group discussion experience, very powerful. And speaking of our Zoom link, I would absolutely love to hear what spiritual books you would recommend that you think have healed your life. And we have an opportunity to do that right after the service. You can hop on that Zoom. And if you've never done it before, all you have to do is to go to cslmidtown.org and the Zoom link and the password are there. And even if you're home in your jammies, you can have your camera off. You don't have to worry about being on camera. I want to hear from you and I want to know what books you would recommend. I will be on there and I'm looking forward to just a really fun discussion. So thank you so much, everyone, for having me. And now we'll turn it over to Vance.
Thank you, Reverend Cynthia. What an awesome idea. All that knowledge that we gain through studying books. And then, like you said, the discussion group. Those are the things that we have here at CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living Midtown. Also, we have classes on those books too, every so often. So all of those things come together to bring us a better spiritual life. And with that, I like to say that's my gratitude that in having that, learning these things and improving our lives with new spiritual ideas to feed our mind and our heart. So with that, as our piece of that gratitude is our contributions. So to be able to support the center spiritually. Here you can go to cslmidtown.org/donate or scan the QR code. It'll take you right to the donation site. And if you will, say with me our affirmation of prosperity. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow. And all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. And now, from our board president, Lee Huffman, we got some special announcements.
Thank you, Vance. And you're absolutely right. Cynthia, that was a great discussion. Books have been a big part of my life, as you know. And those are books that are just really amazing and will give a good foundation to all of us for our spiritual guidance and where we're going. So thank you for that. I want to give a quick update as to what the transition team is doing, the plan for the future. And there is a lot to do. So that's why we have a whole team behind this. And the Centers for Spiritual Living home office in Boulder tells us that it's going to take 9 to 18 months to get this done. So appreciate all your patience and support. Now, you've seen several special letters that have come out recently, and those special letters are going to dwindle off, and we're going to ask you to look at the newsletter for updates. And there may not even be updates in the newsletter. And also, this update is going to move to every other week and maybe even once a month. Because it's moving somewhat at a snail's pace because there is so much to do and so much focus on the teams. So the sub-teams that we have are marketing and communication, the Sunday talks, other weekly talks like Tuesday at noon and Sunday morning. The other workshops that the center provides, including workshops on several of these books, will be coming up over the next year. The financial oversight, membership and membership engagement, office support and management, practitioner team, board of trustees, CSL home office interface, and the minister recruiting, of course. So these are the sub teams that are on this. So there's a lot of people working on this for you, for the center. And so where you can help is specifically, we have a specialized need in the area of marketing leadership. And if you know about social media marketing and other marketing, especially for nonprofits or even not for nonprofits, we would appreciate someone volunteering to help out there. And then, of course, your prayers and treatments are always coveted. And ongoing giving is very important. It's what happens sometimes during this type of transition is that giving goes down. And we need to have that to keep the doors open. And we appreciate all the giving and look forward to continuing the services here online and on the first Sunday of each month as we get together. And the last thing that we would ask you to do is go to the donations page as well. In addition to your weekly or monthly giving, help us contribute to a love offering for Reverend Bob Dean. So we had my email address up there. You can send a message to me if you have any questions at president@cslmidtown.org. And that's it for the update. And like I said, you'll see a little bit less of me. I like to be in the background, and but the team is doing a great job, and they're doing it for you and for the center. So thank you.
So as we come to the closing, I simply would like to say that we will be anticipating a new month of themes, and our theme next month is Great Expectations, or Expect Your Good. Good is something we talk about in this teaching all the time, and sometimes we're not real clear about it. So I invite you to join us for all of the talks next month as we explore this idea of good. The first talk of which I'll be doing here in person at the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. And I invite you to join us. That talk is Great Expectations. So we'll see you then. That will be my last in-person talk with this group at this time. And even though I'll finish out through the rest of the month, that will be the in-person one. So I invite you to join us for that. Bring food. We have food every time. We got to do food. So join us if you will. And now, if you will listen with me and share with me our closing affirmation of life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding. Yes, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. And so it is. See you next week. Thanks.